Welcome back to Life on the 50. I'm your co-host Nick Kleitch, and with me, per usual, in a black on black outfit, though we don't have the visual, is my good man Cole Szynski. Cole, how are we doing, my brother?
Good. This is just thrown together. Uh but dude, we're here. And obviously football's been around, but we're at the best time of the year. We are like as we're recording this, I think like the first night of hockey is getting going. The WNBA finals are going on. There's football being played on a Wednesday. This actually I had this just as a note. Do you know that tonight, Nick, starts 49 straight days of football?
49. That's crazy.
49 straight days of football.
I mean,
How
who the hell is
crazy.
playing on a Wednesday though? That's what I'm confused about.
Middle Tennessee State, or Middle Tennessee, Middle Tennessee State and Missouri State, and then Liberty and UTEP.
Gotta love it, man.
You know, just following along with that. Both games are at halftime at the moment. Nothing better. But yeah, dude, seriously. Obviously, we got our admin and house cleaning stuff out of the way before we started recording, but it's couple weeks have gone by. A ton has happened, and there have been a ton of huge shakeups. And I guess I'll ask you like where you want to start, but there's no shortage of things that we could discuss. And it like I guess I'll start with this. How about I do this? We are now to the stage in college football where we're at the point of realization. Everybody kind of knows who they are as far as their team goes. We know who the good teams are. We know who the rankings are favoring. We know who the bad teams are. We know who the disappointment teams are.
Yes.
We know who the dark horses officially are. So they're not dark horses anymore. And it's just like we're at the point of realization. And I can talk about Iowa State right now. Uh, I can do that. If you want to get into Iowa right now, I can do that. If you, I guess I'll leave it to you. Like, where do you want to start, and what week do you want to start at?
I love it, man. I love it. Um, so the point of realization, the thing I would add in there as well is we've had our first little taste of madness. I
Yeah,
love in college football when we get our first little taste of madness. Games
so
just
great.
not quite going the game we want. You know, our own teams maybe not executing to what we perceive as our own standard. You got some gimme games that you thought were gimme games that were closer than what they needed to be. All that is to say, my goodness, college football, there's no greater thing out there. Although, as a quick sidebar, the NFL has been pretty interesting this year as well too. But this is not life on the 50 regarding the NFL, so we will stay here. A couple of just quick hitter, and then I shall give you more direction and answer your question, Cole. And that is a couple of teams via games a couple weeks ago. So I was on my honeymoon here recently with my beautiful wife, Emily, and we did not have a chance to produce this, but I do think these are noteworthy things that I do want to share. So first and foremost, the Florida State Seminoles with a gut-wrenching loss in overtime on the road against Virginia. Should
Yeah,
have probably won that football game, but you know what? Virginia got the win. And Florida State, you got to kind of look in the mirror a little bit after a loss like that. Next game up for me, that was just a complete banger of a game. Ole Miss over LSU. Good classic game there. Good rivalry back and forth. I'm just very happy Brian Kelly lost. Ole Miss starting to gain a little bit of steam. Number 7, Indiana visited the Hawkeyes. I won't spend a whole lot of time here, but ultimately, I'm extremely proud of this football team because had our quarterback not gone out late in that game, I think we make it a little bit more competitive. But our defense absolutely showed out because in the game before, they ran the score up on a team that was probably considered better than us. And the fact that our defense played to that caliber to only allow essentially what I will say is 12 points or 13 points against the number 7 Indiana team Great job, boys. Tennessee skates out barely to Mississippi State. And then finally, a couple more quick hitters, and then we'll move forward. Our boys Iowa State had a dominating victory over Arizona. We'll get to them later. And our Oregon Ducks won an absolute thriller, along with the Bama Georgia game. So had to work a couple games in there because you and I didn't have a chance to talk about the Oregon, Penn State, and Alabama Georgia, but wonderful slate that day. Madness ensued, and it is beautiful. So now, with that being said, let's rotate over to kind of a traditional episode in the sense of recapping some of the happenings. Iowa was on a bye week, so not much to report there. However, college football still had its ups and downs. So go ahead.
Let's stick with that. I mean, I think being that Iowa was on a bye, right? You talk about Iowa lost to Indiana, who is now ranked 7th at the time we're recording this. They were ranked, I think, 11th at the time the game was played. So they've moved up. Obviously, there's a conversation about them to be had too. But just quick temperature check on Iowa, because like if we also look ahead this week, and obviously we'll get to games this week. Like they have Wisconsin, so it's like we come off a loss to Indiana, albeit we feel good about how we played in that game. It was a 5-point loss when I think the spread was maybe 13 or 14 points ish, and I think I was even banging the table of I'm hammering Indiana to smack them around. And you hand up, I was wrong, you were right. Kinnick at night, like they kept it close. Quarterback gets banged up. Now you go onto a bye, which is kind of perfect timing for a banged up quarterback.
Yeah.
Like, what's the temperature check? I think let's just start there and knock that out.
Sure.
What's the temperature check of Iowa going into this week and then kind of into the really like the back half of the season? Like, it's crazy to think we're almost halfway.
And to say that makes us cringe for how much amped up we are coming into the season.
Yeah.
I would say that the temperature gauge is this. With the recent happenings of last week, I think you have to go in and take care of business against Wisconsin. Your older brother always seems to pick on us. That's always a close game, but you got to win that. And then we then go on to play a Penn State team who may have suffered the worst loss in their program's history against a really, really terrible UCLA team. So as far as where Iowa can go, I think that there is a little bit of a destiny we can create. I will never go as far as thinking we're going to be a playoff team, because we have also to face the Oregon Ducks, which will put us at probably 3 losses. Not to be that fan, but I'm also realistic. Yeah. But I think that if we can compete at the level we did against Indiana, there's no reason why we can't compete against Penn State and every other team on our remaining part of our schedule outside of the Oregon Ducks, who probably outside of the Ohio State Buckeyes are the favorite for the national championship. So that is my temperature.
Yeah. So then, like, being that we're at the point of realization for this year, you said right there, Iowa's not a playoff team. At least you're not going as far to say that at the moment. Like, no. What is the realization about what Iowa football is this year?
I think Iowa is more competitive than what we were last year. And I think at the end of this year, this is my goal anyway, that our fans and our players have hope for the future. And that hope is specifically detailed as our defense can still be our biggest asset along with our special teams. But furthermore, if you just give us an actual quarterback, we're going to compete in a lot of football games in the Big Ten, because that is the first and only difference that we've had this year in comparison to prior years, is that we actually have someone that I will say many haters through week 2 and week 3, but has somewhat settled in to at least playmaking ability, which we haven't seen back there in almost a decade. So I think hope is the big thing that I'm looking at as we, finish strong. Again, some games that we could lose, but hope for the future.
So they're not the same player, and I'm not comparing them skill wise, but I think Mark Gronowski, and this is obviously an outsider, like we all know where my loyalties lie, but taking a step back from my bias and my loyalties, Mark Gronowski, and I'm going to pull a name that you probably haven't heard in a long time. You may not even know who this guy is, transparently, Nick, but I think Mark Gronowski could be for Iowa football what Joel Lanning was for Iowa State football. Does
Wow.
that
Yeah.
make any
Don't
sense?
don't know who that is. So the
Okay.
viewers may need a little bit of a further description.
So in short, Joel Lanning was he played at Iowa State like probably 2014 ish. I don't have the exact years in front of me or no, but it was right around that time because I was in high school, college ish. But he was like he started off as a quarterback, linebacker, like playing both ways at times, and really like he he was the first guy under Matt Campbell to be like a leader. Like he was a leader. He showed up in the big moments. And back then the big moments were like that was like the Liberty Bowl and like playing against Iowa and playing against like I don't know Texas and Oklahoma at the time. Like if you go back and look at like Joel Lanning highlights at Iowa State for anybody listening to this and even you Nick, like it's kind of sweet because his best moments came in big games. And
Hmm.
so I say that is like Mark Gronowski is like and I'm not saying this trying to jab, but it's like oh my like this is what good quarterback play can look
Oh
in
yeah.
in black and gold, like with the Hawkeye on the helmet. Like that's what it can look like. And so I think it's kind of one of those things where it's like this team is not they're not a playoff team. They
And that's okay.
I like they may be the classic Kirk Ferentz 7-5. Like, but I think the difference is two things. A, what I've already said, Mark Gronowski, I think, is kind of a tone, like he's a tone changer. Like he is showing what leadership is like a little bit. I think he is a true leader. I think he's good for the Iowa Hawkeye football team. And I think, secondly, B, we know that the end of the road is coming for Kirk Ferentz. And so it's like we're almost ushering in. It's like, okay, like here's what good quarterback play looks like, good leadership looks like from that position. We know like Kirk Ferentz is on the way out at some point here soon, whether it's this year, next year, God only knows really at this point, I think. Uh but it's kind of like you almost hope you usher in a new era of Hawkeye football that's like quarterback friendly or quarterback dominant, I think.
You've had a lot of takes on this show, and I always appreciate your ability to articulate them. But I think that if you are providing such a vision for us and our fans, that might be the crystal ball if everything goes as expected. I mean, there's always a chance that Iowa does pull what Iowa can do, and we get a quarterback next year that's a complete dud. But gosh, I hope that we can give the program and the fans more of what we're seeing right now. And again, I come back to hope. So if this is and you're hearing it here first on the Life with the 50, when we look back and see a new wave of Iowa football, Cole had it here on this beautiful kind of cold, and I should have led with this in my intro, Cole, the first 42-degree morning here in October in Iowa.
Ooh, nice. Yum, 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 yum. That's the crisp that we want to wake up and feel rolling through the window.
Amen. Any final thoughts on Iowa or any further questions for me? Because I thought that was extremely well pulled together, and I'm going to pray to the good Lord tonight that actually can come through to fruition of what you had just bestowed on me.
No, I think you're right in the fact that like 10 years from now, we need to come back to this episode and we need to evaluate my evaluation. Uh
Essentially.
right, and just be like, did Cole get it right or no? Because could you imagine if we look at this in 10 years and it's like at 10 years from now, 10 years older Cole and 10 years older Nick, like we live in a world where Iowa has great quarterback play and is a perennial college football playoff contender. I would like that would be the end of the road for me.
Oh, I'd be okay if I mean I told my grandfather this, and bless his heart because he's no longer with us, but he got to see Iowa one time in his lifetime play in an Orange Bowl, and at the time that was considered the national championship. If we even come close to that, I'll be okay to meet my maker at that point.
I
I
don't know
do
if I
say
could
that
handle
loose. I know I do say that loosely, of course, but love the kind words, brother. And, outside of rivalry week, this is exactly why we hold each other accountable, because I probably have some opinions at Iowa State that may be able to balance you out a little bit after what had recently happened. So do we dare go into that right now, or do we want to recap and kind of fall in line to what our normal proceedings have been in the past?
I'll go into that right now. That's fine with me.
Okay. My first comment is, does did Rocco Beck suffer a concussion? Because I understand his toughness was there, and I was very proud of him. However, the way that he took that hit would imply that he probably did get something mild. So what is your consensus there? And for the people that didn't watch the game, he had kind of spun out of a tackle to break, and the middle linebacker literally found him in his crosshairs.
So your question to me was, did Rocco Beck get a concussion? I'm not a medical professional. I'm going to trust the medical professionals on the sideline and say that they did a thorough evaluation. No, he does not have a concussion. Thus, he was able to get back onto the field in this past week's game against Cincinnati in the Queen City. However, I have never football do I think I ever got suffered a concussion, which is weird because I'm a smaller guy. I'm compact built, but I'm a smaller guy, and I played middle linebacker, so there's a lot of contact there.
Yeah.
I do think, though, there were a few times where I got doinked by a baseball in the face, in the head, whether I'm hitting or being a catcher. And it's that does rock you, and nothing severe, but maybe a little mild or something jostled, because you just have to wonder, was the not decision making, the decision making wasn't the problem, but maybe the speed of the decision making, the time in which decisions were made after that point. I think maybe slowed down a touch.
Yeah, and just to re-comment back on, the reason I lead with that is I had felt at the later parts of the game, and I should pause for a moment here. So sometimes in football, it's actually good to get rocked a little bit, because it does actually wake you up and it gets you focused, and you're
Yeah.
like, okay, I just got my fucking shit rocked. I need to get going. This hit was a little different. Okay. Targeting, yes, fair enough. I didn't think it was too ill-intended. Just a guy that's 260 pounds coming at a 4.42 speed at a guy that's popping up is going to be losing that battle. But
Okay, but that's a different discussion. That's a
sure,
discussion of the intent versus what actually happened, and that's where we need to have more of a discussion on the rule, and the rule needs to change to be more of in line with basketball of flagrant one, flagrant two.
yes.
Was there malicious intent behind it, or just was it targeting that the guy at a high rate of speed made a poor form tackle? Should he be kicked out of the game for that? No. And even Cincinnati playing against Iowa State, if it was their All-American linebacker, I would still say no. In that exact moment, he didn't deserve to be kicked out of the game. But a 15-yard penalty does apply. He did lead with the crowd of his helmet.
Absolutely.
So that's a different discussion. But I digress. I'll give it back to you. Go ahead.
The reason I pose this is strictly due to the fact that there were some throws late in the second half that normally Rocco makes quite easily. And it just felt like he maybe lost his touch a little bit, both in terms of ball placement, but also to your point of timing as well too. So got to give credit to Cincinnati for coming ready to go at home. They certainly had a game plan in the first half that worked in their favor. I would have hoped to see Iowa State push a little bit more, but this is college football, right? This is the madness. And at any given week, any team can ask Georgia a couple weeks ago. I don't think they were planning on losing to Alabama at home. It happens. And it's in today's world, one loss doesn't kill you. So on to the next thing. When I say that though, Cole, I'm referring to more so the next conversation piece that I have for you, and that is, what is just your general thoughts of the Iowa State Cincinnati game?
Well, I'll take it back 1 week further, because I came into the Cincinnati game riding a high of oh damn, this team's really good. Especially the offense. However, the reason I say I take the Cincinnati game and I look back a week is because the Arizona game, albeit a dominant win, was a very costly win at the defensive back position. Like Iowa State lost their second starting defensive back in that game, and they were already without their best defensive back, corner specifically. So now you go to Cincinnati as the 14th ranked team in the country without your two top corners against a quarterback that Cincinnati has, Brendan Sorsby, who has gotten a lot of national talk about being like a good college quarterback. He is not, the top tier number one draft pick level quarterback that we see every year, or most years, I should say. But like, he's got a lot of good talk. He's backed it up. They've played in some they've played some good teams. They have a winning record. That speaks for itself. So my general thoughts then on the Iowa-Cincinnati game. Crazy that we went into that game as an underdog. I don't care. At least I don't make odds. I gamble on them, and I want the edge. Which is another thing I had. The edge in betting on college football at this point is gone. Like, Vegas has caught up. Vegas knows what these teams are. They know enough about each of the teams that, like, gambling on college football, you are going to be hard pressed to find advantages or money makers because Vegas is locked in at this point. Like, the money printer is gone.
That's so funny.
Still, though, like, number 14 team in the country, you would think going on the road would be favored. We were underdogs. Fast forward to the end of the game, and this goes into a whole different conversation that we can have. Obviously, Iowa State loses, and I can talk more specifically about the football game. But we're like, hey, Cincinnati fans, we're really rushing the field in a game that you are the favorite against. I would get it if Iowa State was maybe a top 10 team, especially if they were a top 5 team or a number 1. But like, they're number 14 in the country, and we're rushing the field as a favorite at home. Like, come on. That's it leads into the larger discussion of, and I know that there's like national pundits having this discussion too, because I listen to it. Has field rushing just gotten completely out of control? And like, I'm all for it. I'm all for field rushing. I've field rushed. I've field rushed at home when we're a favorite against Kansas State late in the year last year. There was more implications behind that to obviously then get us into the Big 12 championship. I won't talk about that anymore. But like, I also watched Appalachian State team play Oregon State at home. But it was App State at App State playing Oregon State. Appalachian State beat Oregon State, and the Appalachian State students rushed the field for that. Like, it's completely out of control.
Yeah.
And you may be sitting on the other side of this, Nick, or people that are listening to this, whoever that is, may be listening to this and be like, Cole, you're an Iowa State fan. You have bias here. You just don't like the field getting rushed on you. That's not it. I am for the field rush. The field rush is good for college football, but it needs to have meaning and implication behind it. Like that, like beating number 14 in the country, Iowa State at home, was not Cincinnati's best win in program history.
No chance.
You beat a literal middle of the road ranked team at home as a favorite. You were expected to win. The field rush is crazy. That's a terrible look. Like it just furthers it furthers my point of the field rush has got a little out of control, and I don't want to be a curmudgeon.
I understand, buddy. I understand. And the last point I'll make to that is it wasn't a game-winning field goal either.
Right.
And so yeah, that's where I do think it's gotten a little out of hand. You're starting to see this a little bit more in college basketball as well, where people are just any chance they get, they're just rushing the court, which is fine. But in my vote, I think the criteria is actually pretty black and white. The team that you're beating has to be in the top 10 minimum. Has to be
Minimum.
in the top 10 minimum. Number two, maybe let's say your program hasn't beaten a team in 10, 12, 15 years or something crazy like that.
Sure.
Which then ties into number three, which is just an incredible triumphant victory where it's a team that maybe was really big underdogs or you can make up your mind there. But that's where my mind goes immediately. Because in my lifetime, Cole, the only time that I've ever heard of someone rushing the field is when a top 5 team gets taken down, not a top 15 team gets taken down.
And those are like the most magical moments in college football. That's
why we do it.
That's why we do this podcast. That's why those moments are why we watch every year. The Penn State UCLA game this last week. I know we're going to get to it. We've been talking Iowa and Iowa State for the first 30 minutes of this podcast almost, which is crazy. But like the Penn State UCLA game is a perfect example of that. Like that is a team who has been horrible to start the year. And they got bad press even before the year with the whole quarterback Nico Iamaleava transfer thing. And it was like, man, that's a bad look for UCLA as much as it is for the kid. And now it's like, and then they sucked and they fired their coach. And then who comes to town like a top 10 ranked team in your conference, and you upset them at home with like a first-time play caller. Also, the guy was like Jerry Neuheisel. He was a quarterback for UCLA. His dad went to UCLA. His dad's on the CBS desk in between games and at halftime. Like that is the story for the field rush. And like seeing the videos of him hugging his girlfriend or wife or fiance, whatever she was after the game, the play caller, like it was just awesome, right? Appalachian State beating 0-6 now Oregon State at home and rushing the field. Cincinnati beating number 14 Iowa State at home as a favorite and then rushing the field. Can't happen. I will just say this then, just getting back to ball.
Sure.
The point of realization is kind of why I'm having that moment for Iowa State this year. I'm having like my realization moment for Iowa State after the Cincinnati game, knowing that health is now becoming a factor, not just for Iowa State, but for every team in the country. Like that's a part of having a championship caliber season is you got to stay healthy. The point of realization and the moment of realization for Iowa State is just that this year is not the year. And like for as good as the offense is, and I think Iowa State has done a great job of like turning into like this offensive program, especially with Rocco Becht being definitely one of the best quarterbacks in the country. I don't think anybody's disputing that.
No doubt.
I love their running backs, Carson Hansen, Abu Sama. Carson Hansen dealing with like a little bit of an injury in this game against Cincinnati. Like the Cincinnati game for me was more so a realization of like, this isn't the year for Iowa State. Like they're not Big 12. They're not Big 12 championship caliber this year. They're not college football playoff caliber this year. And it stems from like those two starting corners now being out, that Iowa State runs that like weird 3-3-5 defense where it's already not good against the run. Mm-hmm. Like Iowa State already doesn't protect and defend against the run well because of that 3-man front, 3 linebackers, and then 5 DBs, which are smaller bodies on the field. They've been a good defense in recent history, just overall, but that lends to the fact that they really can shut down an opponent's passing attack and shut them down through the air. especially late in games, it becomes like a vice grip or like an anaconda. It just slowly strangles you into being one dimensional. And then that one dimension is throwing, and then they shut it down at the end of the game by having 5 DBs on the field, and turning the opposing offense into a fairly predictable one. That's really like football nerdy, at least for me, and like that's really getting inside baseball, if you want to like call it that. That's the term. But like that's just not with your 2 starting corners out. Your running back situation's been a little banged up. It's like the wide receivers still have not connected the way that like you would like to see, even though the offense has been spectacular. It's just like this isn't the year. My expectations for a Big 12 championship are gone. My expectations for a college football playoff berth are gone. However, I think we're a winning football team. I think we probably end up with 2 or 3 losses, which unfortunately I think we're going to see a team like Notre Dame with 2 losses. If everything stays the way that it's going, they end up with 2 losses. They get into the college football playoff. The Big 12 just doesn't get the same support that Notre Dame or obviously the Big 10 or the SEC gets.
No chance, yeah.
And so you have to be either undefeated or be a 1-loss conference champion to get into that college football playoff if you're a Big 12 team. And that's it's just not what Iowa State's going to be this year. Texas Tech looks great. They are a monster. And like I just think there's a little bit level of separation now between them, maybe Arizona State if Arizona State gets hot, and then kind of like your upper echelon, but not championship caliber teams. I think there's now a separator.
I understand how one could feel this way, and I understand you trying to be realistic. I have to slightly disagree with you, and I say this because there are incredible moments and incredible teams that have come back after a devastating loss, and that loss has been the jet fuel that they need. I don't want to provide false hope. I know you've been an Iowa State fan much longer than I have been one, so you are seeing things, I would say, fairly clearly. However, I think in today's game, you're awarded 1 loss, and 1 loss is not going to kill you. Now, do they have work to do? Absolutely. But I think that they look at their remaining schedule. There's some hard teams on there, as any team in the country finds some hard games. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to say guilty until proven, innocent until proven guilty. If they can go on a 4 or 5 game bender and find themselves in, then fair enough. They're going to have a loss, and so do a lot of other teams. Yeah. So yeah, I'm just gonna like you were to Iowa, play a little devil's advocate to kind of remain hopeful and remain promising. Just because 1 loss, I think, is not going to kill a team anymore.
A loss to Cincinnati is not a bad loss. Like that's not a UCLA beating Penn State kind of a loss.
Yeah.
That's not, right? Like Cincinnati, again, was favored in the game. They have a good quarterback. They have really good players on defense even. Their defensive tackle, Dante Corleone, if you go back to their first episode that we recorded of this or that we did, he's one of my favorite players in college football. Like I know that guy is legit NFL day 1, day 2 round draft pick good.
Right.
And like, I mean, we couldn't run inside strictly because of him. So like that affects you. I mean, yeah, I'm looking at the Iowa State schedule. Like it's Colorado this week in Boulder. Colorado, they are not what they were last year with a Heisman Trophy winner and with obviously with Shador being an NFL caliber quarterback. I mean, winnable game. Iowa State's only favored by 2.5 points. Right. I mean, it's great to be favored on the road, but like only by 2.5 against Colorado, who's 2-4, is tough.
That's
and
understandable.
Then it's like you go back home and it's BYU October 25th. It's Arizona State November 1st, which I'll be at. It's TCU on the road, November 11th. It's Kansas in Ames, late November, which is kind of like a weird, daunting game. Obviously, you'll know implications by then, and then you finish with Oklahoma State, who sucks. But the stretch that Iowa State's going on, like it's not going to get any easier for a team that has lost two very key pieces on defense for the season. And it's, we're talking point of realization for a lot of teams. These are our teams. I'm glad you disagree. I agree with you in that one loss does not hurt you. It does not take you out of it. And certainly, like I said, Cincinnati's not a bad loss, but you got to look at the totality of the situation, the health, how people are playing, what you're up against in the conference, what you're up against in the rankings, because we know there's bias there, right? With Big Ten and SEC bias.
Absolutely.
Just
to put a nice little bow on that, I think the reason I feel the way that I do is because I have watched Iowa State for many years, and I recognize the amount of fight that is in Rocco. And I think as a quarterback and as a leader, I think he goes to himself and he goes, first off, I'm glad I didn't get fucking decapitated by that linebacker, because if he would have been standing any taller, he might not be with us anymore.
That could have been.
And then number two, he's a competitor. So he's going to see that last game and he's going to go, you know what? That's not going to define me, because if he goes south mentally, that's when Iowa State goes south. And so if him and Campbell can dial up, and again, I'm not saying it's a miracle season and they just win all these games by 20 points, but take it week by week with one loss and see what happens. And especially with some games at home too. So, but nonetheless, we're here for it. We're here for all the games. We're here for our team. And this might be one of the rare episodes where we talk more about our teams than other games happening around the league.
Yeah. I mean, listen, there's no shortage of other things going on around college football, right? Like we still really have, like we've just dipped our toe into last week's games, which we can, I think right now is a good transition point to do.
Sure.
I think it was needed though. Like we haven't really done an in-depth look at our teams aside from rivalry week. And that's kind of its own thing.
That's a great point.
I talk about field rushing. Like, I think that's pertinent, especially to last week and this week, and just like a fun talking point. The period of realization is real all across the landscape of college football. I will say this, just to kind of kick off games from this last week. We did have our first weather game of the year, real weather game of the year. I don't know if you were watching it or not. I doubt it, but UNLV went to Laramie, Wyoming to play the Wyoming, what are they, the Cowboys or something like that. Snow on the field, seeing like true snow game, Nick. First real snow game, and that's how you know we're here. We are in the thick of it when you start getting weather games, snow games, because that's the fun. That's when it gets fun.
Snow games in October is a little early for me, but it is a phenomenal look for the sport and knowing where we're going. I mean, you see that game, it was about 45 degrees here. And so it's coming. It's kind of like the death with 1,000 cuts. It's slowly getting closer and closer, even though we haven't seen it yet. But that I did see how
talk about 42 degrees in the morning, waking up. We've got snow on the ground during football games. That's what this all is. That's what this all builds to. I will say really quick, if this podcast ever grows to be anything outside of just us doing this randomly, I want to do a podcast live from Laramie, Wyoming with you, Nick, late in the season. Like it has to be November or later. There has to be snow on the ground. I want to do a podcast post Wyoming football game with snow on the ground, you and me at the 50, that is my white whale for this podcast if it ever happens.
Wow, I love the manifestation, brother. You know I'd be there, fired up and ready to go.
That'd be so awesome.
I love it. Okay. And I know you're switching gears on me here, and I'm gonna take that momentum that you're saying, and I just want to get this game out real quick because we're going to stay in the Big 12 here. But to your point earlier, the Texas Tech Red Raiders, man,
Oh,
they looked real good. A complete football team, somebody that handled pressure quite well. But in addition to that, I'm not going to overhype them because we challenged them a couple weeks ago and they succeeded our challenge. But
yeah.
boy, is their momentum rolling right now.
Yeah, dude, they're legit. I don't know if I've said on this podcast. Remind me if I have or if I haven't, or at least jog my memory. Have we talked about them being like the highest spenders in college football in the transfer portal this year?
It was mentioned, yes. We just
Okay.
hadn't seen the two come together in terms of their spending versus what we're seeing as product on the field.
It's pretty nuts. Like, I don't know if people get that or realize that or even care. Like, I'm all for the spending of money in college football. I'm all for NIL. And like, I think this could potentially change college football. Not to mention the Texas Tech Houston game was like an undefeated versus undefeated matchup. And Texas Tech, once again, just like they did to Utah at home, went into Houston and blew the doors off their opponent. And it really does just go to show you that like old college football is dead, Nick. You don't
Yes.
have to be a 4-year program with all of these guys coming up together. You know, they walk in the doors together as freshmen and they redshirt together and they get hammered at whatever local bar it is together for the first time, or they go out to eat and they break bread as guys for the first times, and like they spend all that time lifting weights and getting in reps at the practice facility to like culminate as seniors. That's dead. Like, you can go out and spend millions and millions of dollars on quality players to come into your university for 1 year and put together a really, really good magical season.
And we've seen it done a couple different times in a couple different places. I think that's what's exciting is that you're seeing the success in an immediate turnaround. Indiana Hoosiers, Cincinnati Bearcats. I'm sure I'm missing some. Feel free to add to that list, but no longer is it 4 years to turn a program.
It's literally like it can be as simple a recipe as a coaching change and $30 million in NIL.
30 million helps. There's no doubt about that.
It's as simple as that. Like, that's what it is. No, but like, listen, it's Big 12. I'm an Iowa State fan. Sometimes I think we maybe talk a little too much Big 12, but I'm okay with that because I enjoy it. It's what I watch a lot of. They're impressive, man. Like, they're impressive.
I think that when you see a team like Florida State who lost, unfortunately, and his teams start acquiring 2 losses, or maybe even 3, I think it's a team like Texas Tech that stays in their lane and just keeps chipping away.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, let's transition to that game just because that one, that Florida State Miami game was like so high profile.
Sure.
I give a lot of credit to Florida State for even keeping this game close.
I agree.
Because aside from one week 1 win against Alabama, Florida State hasn't really been like the dominant team that maybe the overreaction Monday after week 1 of college football pegged them to be.
Yeah.
I mean, like, they lost to Virginia, like you said, double OT. On the road, and then like you host Miami, number 3 in the country. They look awesome. I hate to say it, Nick. I couldn't like that take about hating Carson Beck. I want Carson Beck to fail. There may be no worse take that I have had on this show than that one.
Mm-hmm. Well, your personal hatred is totally fine, as do I have mine with Penn State and James Franklin. It's just that what Carson is deciding to do is put us in the category of a hater and thus motivation for him to perform at a Heisman level.
Yeah. Well, he put his big boy pants on. He's like, Georgia doesn't want me? Fine. I'll go to Miami and just kick the ever-living daylights out of almost everybody. But that's where I go. Yeah. I mean, that's where I go back to, like, credit to Florida State because it could have been very easy to come in this game and, like, at a point that you're down, let it get out of hand. And, I mean, 6-point loss. Like, that's not bad. And I'm sure Miami covered whatever that spread was. I can't remember at this point. But because I'm sure it wasn't 6. I'm sure it was a bit smaller than that. But I will say, like, I give credit to Florida State because after the season that they had last year, dude, like, again, like we said with Texas Tech, it's a pretty quick recipe to have a turnaround. And like, you got to think, for as much momentum as a team like Miami had coming into that game and now has, especially going into the back half of this year, it's a momentum builder for Florida State for the position that they're in to be like, hey, we're 3-2, we're 0-2 in ACC play. However, pretty manageable part of the schedule left coming up, and they have a lot of they clearly have a lot of support behind them in terms of the dollar. They have a brand new renovated stadium. Like, the momentum and the upward trend to get back to the upper echelon of college football is there for Florida State.
Yeah, absolutely. And to really drive this point home, they're a team that, even though they've acquired 2 losses or maybe even 3 losses in total,
Two.
from where they were to where they could end up could be one of the best turnarounds in college football,
Yeah.
from season to season. So for them, they should not lose luster in their performance. I bet they wish they could have had a 5th quarter. They wish they could have had a 5th quarter against Miami. Who knows? Maybe the Miami still handles their business, but this is where those road losses really add up. If you take away that game, which honestly they had a phenomenal comeback in that game, but if they get the victory there and you're only sitting at 1 loss, such a different story in the course of a season. But to your other point, they have a very favorable schedule coming up, and I think that they're going to fall off of the national spotlight in some ways. But if they have the ability to chip away, they could easily only have a 2 to maybe 3 loss season, which for them, again, that's a phenomenal end to whatever 1 win last year somehow, some way. My goodness, I can't even
They're
comprehend
25th.
that.
They're 25th in the country, like in the latest ranking, and their schedule goes this. I don't know if you're looking at it or not, but it goes Pitt, Stanford, Wake Forest, Clemson, Virginia Tech, NC State, Florida.
Yeah,
Like, I mean,
every one of those games.
that sets up for like that stretch of Pitt, Stanford, Wake Forest, Clemson, Virginia Tech is extremely manageable to then go in with only 2 losses to NC State, who I believe always puts a good product on the field, and Florida, who, I mean,
We'll get to them.
big win this last week. We
Yeah,
don't
we'll
know
get
what
to them.
we don't know what they'll be at the end of November. When Florida State plays Florida, when Florida State goes to Gainesville. But my God, dude, like, you think about it, Florida State is in a good spot considering their 2 losses are to Miami, like top 5 ranked Miami, and a Virginia team who is surprising a lot of people and is currently at the top of the ACC.
Yeah, and they may, and that's where I think a lot of fair weather fans get too emotional versus our maturity. And I'll give us a little bit of confidence. We know that you have to look back at these games at the end of the season to see how some of these teams end up. And I even say that in terms of Cincinnati for Iowa State. Let's see where Cincinnati actually ends up, right? Because it's like, yeah, you all have these predictions, but what matters most is what happens on the field. And I think that Iowa State might be able to turn back around and say, hey, we had 1 loss, maybe 2 losses, but that was a damn good football team.
You motherfucker. I see what you
So
did there. You're good. You're good.
I'm here for a reason. I host the show for a reason, Mr. Szynski. So any other final points there before we move on? Maybe to just some touch them all kind of list of other games that happened.
No, let's go touch them all. Games that happen. I think that's a good segue. Let's start with the Florida game though, since we just talked about Florida.
Arch Manning, dude.
Texas.
I don't know.
If we're talking, let me ask you this, Nick. Let's do this. We'll do this exercise. We're moving to Florida. We said that. Okay. I want you to rank the disappointments for me in your order. What's the biggest disappointment? Penn State, Clemson, or Arch Manning?
Whew. Okay. Let me try to remove my bias though. Okay, say it one more time, please.
Okay. The three disappointments that I'm giving you, and there's others, sure, but these are the three big ones that are coming to mind for me and that I'm looking at. Penn State, obviously, we'll get to that in a sec. Clemson, Arch Manning. Rank them most disappointing to most disappointing, but not as bad as the top two.
Oh man. All right, I'm not gonna lose sight of my biases here. So I think in terms of overall, to answer your question, number one is Arch Manning, and I
Wow.
say that because I don't know what's going on right now. I mean, you have a team that arguably almost made the national championship in a brand that is the best in college football, and he's struggling this poorly. I mean, they should be throttling Florida. Florida is a
Yeah.
garbage football team, and they're getting beat on the road. And I will also say, with that point, you and I have had conversations prior to this podcast about how we didn't think it was a good idea to Texas to go to the SEC. And
Yeah.
everyone was all hot because Quinn Ewers was a quarterback and they had a lot of talent. But look at the reality now. You're getting nipped in the butt by teams like Florida, which is embarrassing, quite honestly.
Well,
Number two, oh, go
may
ahead.
I add, just really quick to your point, I'm not ready to say that Florida's a trash team, but they aren't good this year. It is tough to go on the road and win in Gainesville, though, to win in the swamp.
All right.
But Arch Manning, to the flip side of this, and why this is a disappointment, Arch Manning was the favorite to win the Heisman starting the year.
And it's
Like,
just ugly.
that's like you don't get to be the number one favorite, like the favorite, the runaway favorite at the beginning of the year to win the Heisman. Like, this may be, I'll save what I'm going to say there. That's a huge disappointment. So
Yeah.
I'm sorry. So Arch Manning was your number one. You're going most to least. You're not starting from the bottom. Arch is number
At
one.
number one. Yeah, and I say that because it's no longer college football is no longer the sport where freshman phenomenons are, this rare entity like a Jameis Winston as a freshman leading Florida State to the national championship. With the NIL, like this is a whole new game. And so you've had the years to develop. You're a brand name in Manning, better or worse, and you're also at Texas, better or worse. I just think that what we're seeing is truly underwhelming and a massive disappointment. And then you turn right around and have to play in the Red River rivalry for this next week. Sorry to preview that too early, but I know I kind of jumbled my words on that Red River rivalry.
The Red River rivalry.
Yes, and then you also have to play Georgia later in the season. So unless there is some crazy magic that gets bestowed upon Arch, he is my number one disappointment thus far. And I didn't even include the concepts that you added about the Heisman, which is very, very true. Next, I do think I think Clemson's got to be next. I think Clemson was a team that we are just so disappointed in because what are we doing, Dabo? College football is so much better when Clemson is a top 10 team. It really is.
Agreed.
I won't spend too much more time there, but that was my thought. Least, and I put it here because I think Penn State can still resolve themselves in some way. They also have a lot of brand recognition with the College Football Playoff Committee, so they'll try to find a way to weasel their ass in there somehow. But lastly, I don't expect bad losses from bad coaches, and that's what we're looking at Penn State. James Franklin is a bad coach, and this is what happens to bad coaches: is they lose like losers. And so, yeah, I'm actually not disappointed in them at all. I think it's to be expected when your coach can only beat teams that are like 12 point, or when they're the 12 or 15 point favorite. So we'll see how Penn State responds. But in terms of your direct question, Arch Manning is nowhere to be found this year.
So I agree with you. I agree with you that Arch Manning's number one. It is okay. I said what I already said about he was the Heisman favorite. Like, he not only was the Heisman favorite, he's not only like in the bloodline of the Mannings, like he had like you go to Tech, like he's at Texas, a national brand with a national brand on his back. Like it's Texas on the front, Manning on the back.
No shit.
Is like that is football personified. That's football. uh and then to be at the like be the runaway preseason favorite for the Heisman, and now and let me back up. He's not only like in the family of former players, he was touted as like this guy may be the best of the Mannings because of
such a bold statement.
Because of the athleticism. Like people were salivating at his high school tape. And here's the deal. We may look back from this 2-3 years down the road when he's getting ready to go in the NFL draft, and he is like the Joe Burrow or the or he may be the best of the Mannings when it's all said and done at the end of his career as a football player. But dude, like it's not starting out great. And it didn't start out great in the NFL for Peyton Manning either. Like he was like the most sacked quarterback ever, or like he threw like the most interceptions for a rookie quarterback, whatever. Like one of those things. But dude, like it really is. And you said it, Nick, briefly, like it's about the play on the field. Yeah. And like the play on the field just isn't good.
It just doesn't look like he was ready for the moment, which again, if it's like his freshman year and he's starting and like you're going to have some freshman woes, that's totally fine. But you sat behind a guy for at least a year, if not two, all the NIL money, all this stuff, Steve Sarkisian's fucking offense, like all the variables are there. And let's not pretend like they're playing a juggernaut of a schedule either. I mean, yes, Ohio State is very good and Georgia's good too, but I mean, come on.
And credit to you. It goes back to the point of like Texas moved to the SEC. Texas wanted to make that move. Do you want to be a big fish in a small pond in college football, or do you want to be a small fish or a medium-sized fish in a really big pond? Exactly. Texas going to the SEC is you're taking the big fish and putting it in a bigger pond where there are bigger fish. Texas in the Big 12, if this was all happening in the Big 12, Arch Manning, the whole thing, like Texas is at the top of that conference. Arch Manning probably looks a lot better because the environments that you play in, hand up, like playing at Jack Trice Stadium is not the same as playing at the Swamp or playing at Death Valley in Louisiana or playing at Tuscaloosa. Like it's not the same. It like one is better than the other or harder than the other, however you want to look at it. I still have Iowa State, Ames, Jack Trice, still my favorite place to ever watch a football game. It's the best environment in college football, I think. But I get why people would say it's not. Okay. All that being said, Arch Manning is number one. Quickly wrapping it up, I flipped the other two simply because I think, like, you know, Clemson, like, you're supposed to be the big dog. You scheduled the games as a big dog schedule, and it's like, dude, you're not, like, the team's not showing up. Your quarterback stinks. Team stinks. You don't believe in the NIL. You've come out and publicly said that. Like, they gambled. They gambled and they lost. James Franklin, we know he's a bad coach. But, like, I mean, they still had, like they're still really good against bad teams, albeit last week as the outlier. And right. probably the straw that broke the camel's back on his coaching tenure seasons to come, at least at Penn State. So
yeah,
that is what it is. What do you say, Nick? What do you say we move on to Vanderbilt, Alabama?
I say that's great. I think that's a great move.
This was like the College game day. They were at this game in Tuscaloosa. Obviously, last year, Diego Pavia, Alabama, comes to Vandy in Nashville or just outside of Nashville, whatever that is, whatever the setup's like. Alabama gets knocked off. I got to be honest, I was watching this game. I don't know if you watched this game, Nick, or not, but it never felt like Vanderbilt, like for as much shit as was being talked, specifically by Diego Pavia before this game, it never really felt like Vanderbilt was ever going to have a chance or like threaten. And, and like it was only, I mean, it was, I say only, it was a 16-point loss, but it was just kind of like, this isn't even a close game. Like Ty Simpson, quarterback for Bama, he's turning a corner. I don't think he's turning a corner like making a run at the Heisman late in the year. But like he's turning a corner to being like one of the better quarterbacks in college football to you know, to like this season and moving on.
I would say this as I look at the body of work of Alabama. First off, actually, before I get the train going, first off, it was very cool to have Vanderbilt featured in such a way. I mean, we've been along a lot. We've been around a long time, Cole. Vanderbilt's never, ever, 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 ever been in the conversation. So for them to have a rivalry game, great. Back
Credit
to the
to
body
them,
of
they
work.
earned it. They earned it by winning last year.
Correct. Back to the body of work. After a kind of shitty loss to Florida State, depending on how they finish the year, could be a quality loss. Alabama, especially after a road win at Georgia, I think that you are seeing the workings of a team that has unbreakable momentum. You had everybody talking shit to start the year because last season was very bad for them historically, and it was. And then you go out and lose first game of the year to Florida State, who had one win last year. And then you slowly look at yourself in the mirror and you go, all right, every single week we're going to roll in or have some team roll in, and we are going to show everyone in the country that we're the best fucking football team out there. And they have just been absolutely taking care of business week in and week out. And I think that Vanderbilt got an Alabama team maybe at the prime of their season, because coming off a win to your interstate rival like that, not interstate rival, I misspoke. I'm sorry. SEC rival.
In conference rival, yeah.
Yeah, you're just not. Vanderbilt had to fight a very large uphill battle. I'll just say that.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. I think this game was all about like Diego Pavia is not the talent level, but the same needle mover that like Baker Mayfield was at Oklahoma.
No doubt.
Right, like Baker Mayfield, number one pick, like I mean, you want to do NFL talk really quick? He's playing great this year for the Bucks, like, so and he's been all over the NFL. He's been with the Rams, the Carolina Panthers, the Browns. Like, he's been all over, and he looks great this year. Diego Pavia is like a catalyst like that, or he is a needle mover like that. But this was all about how bad is Alabama going to kick the crap out of Vanderbilt after getting, their ankles clipped or getting like having their season derailed completely last year by Vanderbilt. Still, credit to Vanderbilt, but credit to Vanderbilt for like only 16 points. It was only 16 points. They got to number 16 in the country, and awesome for them. And a little bit more to NFL talk. I'm a Bears fan. The Bears play the Washington Commanders this upcoming Monday. It's kind of the same thing of like, if you follow football at all, the Hail Mary thing that happened with the Bears and the Commanders last year, it like this week is all talk of like, are the Bears going to finally like get it together and beat the Commanders, or is the same thing, like, are the Commanders just better? This was that game. This was like, and not to project my Chicago Bears insecurities onto this podcast, but like that's what this was. Is like, okay, is Alabama going to get its act together and like kick the crap out of Vanderbilt, or are we actually going to do this Vanderbilt thing? And like we saw, like we got our answer.
We got our answer. And I will throw in quickly for both teams. Vanderbilt, their up-and-coming schedule, and if they're the team who they think that they are, they better have a real quick reset memory, because we go LSU, Missouri, Texas, Auburn, and Kentucky. So they still have a strong push here, but you got some juggernauts that you're going to be going up against. On the flip side, Alabama, as much as I am talking about you in a positive way, if you keep the band going, that's great, but you're going to have quite a few challenging games coming up here in Tennessee, LSU, and Oklahoma. So it's just get the fucking popcorn, man. It's just going to get better and be better week in and week out. Any final comments on this football game before we move to the next one, and/or if we're concluded there, moving on to the predictions for the week? I will leave that up to you, my friend.
I'm done with this one. I've got one other game that I just want to throw at you, Nick.
Please.
And let you go. And then we can get to next week if you don't want to touch on any other games. If you do, certainly we touch on them. And I'm just going to say the matchup and then let you go. So here it is.
Sure.
UCLA, Penn State.
So good. I was a Bruins fan through and through. There's nothing more embarrassing than losing to the worst team in your conference on the road. They didn't even have enough fans at their stadium to storm the field. And when they did, it looked like it was just like a recruiting day with the parents and the kids and everyone talking on the field. That's how embarrassing this loss is.
It looked like a normal post game.
It was so awesome. And I was cheering so hard for UCLA that I hope that this was the straw that breaks the back of James Franklin. And I want him to know, and obviously we'll never speak to each other. And if we do, hopefully it's on the Life with Nick podcast or maybe on the Life with the 50. It doesn't matter where it comes. I want him to know that he will never, ever win the big game. He has to just know that from me here in Iowa. Fuck you, and you'll never win the big game. So that's my my take on that football game. For the Bruins, good for you. Hopefully you had a lot of fun.
I mean, that's ultimate party game. It just sucks that they're in Los Angeles where it's like there's so many other things going on in Los Angeles than UCLA football. Heck, there's USC football going on. USC's ranked in the Big Ten.
I mean, it's like, rough.
Here's the thing. Okay, here's the thing is like, obviously, like Penn State, they stink. 2 losses. You can't put them into the college football playoff with 2 losses. One of them being this. So their season's over, right? I don't follow the message boards and the recruiting. I'm sure Penn State's losing a lot of recruits and people are like, what the hell? And so that brings us to the James Franklin conversation. I don't disagree with you that James Franklin, hey, you're never going to win the big one. Like James Franklin has proved, like Penn State is a program that is in the echelon simply as a brand of the Georgias, of the Alabamas. Like it is a national brand when you think of college football. When you say, hey, Cole, what's college football? Instantly in my mind, it's like Crimson Tide, Nittany Lions, LSU, Florida, Iowa State, Iowa sucks. Like that. Like that's what goes on in my brain. Like it's James Franklin. Let me just put it this way. James Franklin needs to not be the coach of this team next year. Maybe take the year off. James Franklin needs to go be the coach of one of the like Appalachian State, Tulane, or like a team in a conference where he can very easily win it. He brings like I'm James Franklin. I was a head coach at Penn State. Like he will bring a small school some notoriety and a little bit of spotlight. And like maybe there you can win the big one. Like you could win the conference championship in the Conference USA. You can win the conference championship in the Mountain West. Like you can win the conference championship, in the Sun Belt. Like go there and just like and dominate there and like make your goal each year to be win my conference championship as a head coach. And then let's just get into the college football playoff, right? Like that needs to happen because doing it at Penn State, he was at Mizzou before, like he proved he's not doing it there. And I think everybody just needs to amicably, like, let's not make this a messy divorce.
Right.
We're going to split custody of the kids, 50-50 assets. Everybody leaves with what they came. And like, hey, James Franklin, go do your thing where it's going to be fun if like one weekend James Franklin's at Appalachian State and they get College Game Day there because it's pretty in the fall and they're a small school and they don't get that kind of thing often. Versus
Exactly.
Penn State's an annual stop for college. It's like we're doing the Penn State Oregon game, the Penn State Ohio State game. We're doing the Penn State, like whatever the whiteout game is. That's where game day is going to be. James Franklin, you ain't got it, buddy. You're not cutting it.
I think after the loss to Oregon at home, if I remember correctly, his record against top either 10 or top 5 opponents, or at least maybe when they're not favored, Penn State, that is like 1-12 or 1-13.
Yeah, something like that.
There is no more compelling statistic telling me that you're not fit for the job than that.
That's not being able to get it done in the big moments, right?
Like in a program where you're expected to do so, and you're just not. It doesn't happen. I'm sorry. Someone has to tell him, and no one is telling him. Anyway, I digress. But
obviously, tainted history with Penn State with the whole Sandusky thing. But like that aside, talking strictly football, Joe Paterno was one of the best football coaches of all time, like most winningest college football coaches of all time, right? Like by the numbers, literally was. And so that then to be mirrored or to like be talked about in the same breath because it's the same school of James Franklin who literally can't win the big one. He literally can't win the big one. And there have been
15.
There have been multiple big ones, 16 big ones.
At least.
It's like, okay, we get it. James Franklin, go coach Coastal Carolina and dominate. And like, we'll maybe see you as a 12 seed. That'll be a fun story. The graphic of, him at Penn State with his shoulder slumped after getting beat by UCLA, side by side with him at Coastal Carolina or wherever with the Gatorade bath after the conference championship game, like side by side. That'll be a cool story, and like everybody will be happy about it. But it's just it's really sad that like Penn State, this national brand, cool logo, great atmosphere, like sorry, your games don't matter now.
You don't matter now. And then I will add the icing on the cake here in terms of Penn State. A whiteout at Penn State is arguably number one, if not in the top 3 of the hardest places and the coolest places to play at night. And you just can't take advantage of that in any way. And this is why, Cole, as a quick tangent on my Hawkeyes that I love so much, is that when we have a team like Indiana rolling in, and we will get Penn State, so I guess I got to better put my money where my mouth is, we have the ability to elevate to that team and nearly win. We should win more, of course, but that's what it's supposed to do. Your home field is supposed to give you the edge. And if you are number 2 in the nation, if you are number 5 in the nation, if you are number 7 in the nation, you eventually statistically should win one of those games, and you just can't do it.
Yeah.
And that just tells me you don't have the ability.
Yeah. Completely agreed. Like, I completely agree. And Penn State being good is good for college football. Penn State being elite and a true top 5 team in the country is the best thing for college football because you're exactly right. Like being a true championship contender, not just given a preseason ranking because of who they have coming back and the brand that they are. And, oh my gosh, like there's all this surrounding it and Whiteout and Happy Valley. Like it needs to get back to like, no, they are a legit, like, oh my gosh, this team, like Alabama level team where it's like they steamroll even good opponents.
Yes,
like,
couldn't agree more. Speaking of which, quick shout out, Ohio State's still steaming hot. We will not address them per se in terms of their former victory, but they're a team that has been number 1, and they will aren't they number 1?
Yeah, they beat Minnesota 42-7, and they're number 1.
So
yeah, they're taking care of business.
Yes. Okay. Sorry. Go ahead, Cole. I'll let you regain the reins.
Yeah, just to wrap up last week, just a couple more quick hitters. Clemson played North Carolina in like the shittiest shit bowl of shit bowls. It was like Clemson actually looked good. They scored on the first play of the game with like a double pass touchdown pass.
Yikes.
But it was a 38-10 game. Like it just wasn't even a good game, even for Clemson looking good. It was just like, Clemson sucks, but they're whooping up on UNC, who really sucks. And I read today that Bill Belichick is already like negotiating his buyout of North Carolina with the university. It's like, that's tough. Like the North Carolina thing needs to be studied. And it's not like North Carolina is like a national brand, like we were just talking about with Penn State. Or they're not even on they're not even close to like a brand. But what Bill Belichick, the speed in which he has gone into Chapel Hill and just completely dismantled any spotlight, any respect, any part of program that was like building as a football team. And obviously you're already a basketball school. Like he erased that completely as the best coach of like all time, apparently, right? Like at least in the NFL. That game sucked. I said I was going to be quick. Air Force, Navy, just hey, for the military folks. Obviously, we know this thing all comes to a head with Army, Navy after the regular season of college football concludes. That was a great game, though, 34-31. Washington still looks really good, even though coming off the loss to Ohio State, who's obviously rolling. I already talked about the Oregon State, Appalachian State game, which I could not believe. Michigan beat Wisconsin. Like Michigan, Bryce Underwood still looks good. They can run the rock. Nebraska, Michigan State. Nebraska doesn't look terrible. I mean, Nebraska played Cincinnati early in the year. People forget that at Arrowhead. And like they won by 3, and people thought that was like a win. It's starting. I mean, that's looking a lot better and better by each passing week. 3-point win against Cincinnati at a neutral site. Already talked about UNLV, Wyoming weather game. Love the weather games. And then, that sort of wraps up. I mean, TCU looks really good. They played Colorado at home. They look good. That's kind of a discussion for later down the year. They're 4-1, 1-1 in the Big 12. Iowa State, like I already mentioned, they play TCU, so we'll talk about them later in the year. But for me, that wraps up kind of what was week 6, Nick. So we're on to this week.
Week 7, baby. And I hate to say week 7 out loud, but that's truly what it is. But we've been rolling on this podcast, a production that we feel really good about. I know, even though we didn't have as much of a structure coming in, but that's what happens when you bring 2 great podcasters together. And so let's end this podcast on a sizzling note with some predictions. Okay.
Quickly, I will go through because, there are games. It's obvious we're recording this on a Wednesday. Actually, I'm gonna fly you blind into these predictions. I'm not gonna talk at all about anything. And we're gonna end this podcast. We're gonna be done, and we're gonna see what happens. Okay.
Phenomenal.
2 games tomorrow. 4-1 Louisiana Tech versus 3-2 Kennesaw State at Kennesaw State.
Let's go to what's Kennesaw State's mascot?
Kennesaw State, what is their mascot? The Owls.
Let's go Owls. I got Owls in that game.
Owls in that game. 3-2 beats 4-1. Other game of winning teams playing winning teams. East Carolina goes on the road to play Tulane.
If I remember right, Tulane had been kind of fighting for a victory that they needed to have. Is that accurate?
Tulane's 4-1. Tulane's one of my favorite teams as far as small schools with potential to get in the college football playoff.
All right, let's stick with that then. I like that. I like your favorite team. You're a smart guy, and
you like my favorite team.
Yeah.
Going to Friday then. There's 3 games on Friday. South Florida, 4-1, also one of my favorite teams. They're ranked number 24 in the country. They're one of my favorite teams to get into the college football playoff. They're 4-1. They go on the road to play the North Texas Mean Green, I believe, who's 5-0. So you have 4-1 versus 5-0.
That's a great game. I think because of the early season games that South Florida has been in, I think that they ultimately have enough here to handle that game. North Texas is going to bring it, though. They're at home. They're going to bring it.
North Texas is favored 1.5.
Whew, love it.
Okay, let's go to Saturday. Big slate, and it starts off with a banger. Ohio State goes on the road to Champaign, Illinois against Illinois. 5 and
Oh,
5-0 versus 5-1. Like we're
such a good
talking,
game.
this is a heavyweight fight in the Big Ten.
Yeah. And see, this is the game. These games like this get created due to the new conference, because in the past it could have been a similar game, but it may not just have that kind of weight to it. But
Yep.
I think this is going to be really tough. I do have Ohio State coming out on top. They just haven't shown weakness, in my opinion, in 4 quarters. They're just elite at every position. Great coaches. I think Illinois puts up a hell of a fight. This could be an overtime game. But I think that Ohio State wins probably by 1 score. And it's going to be not the first test for them, because obviously they had Texas, but this is going to be a humble reminder to them to say, hey, there are some really good teams out here. And just, if you're number one, prove to us that you're number one. But super pumped for that one.
This is a game. Illinois is not backing down. Like they're not scared. They're at home. They're going to strap it up and like they're going to try to hit you in the mouth, right? Like they're going to.
Well, and yeah, and to that point, I mean, think about this from Illinois' perspective. Not only do they need to redeem themselves and kind of get that next kind of tier win, but for their program, I mean, Illinois' program has been in the dump for a long time. So if they can knock off number one, whew, they are going to be storming the field for that, no doubt.
You said it perfectly. I was going to end with that, at least for that game. This is a game that, like, if Illinois beats Ohio State at home, perfect game to rush the field.
Yeah, perfect game.
That's probably the best win in Illinois' program history. Right. That's number one on the road. You knock off number one. That's a game you rush the field. Not 100%. When App State beats 0-6 Oregon State. Okay. The second game in the 9 a.m. at least local, early window, though, for anyone just college football across the country. Number 8, Alabama goes on the road to number 14, Missouri. Alabama 4-1, Missouri 5-0.
See, I'm going to be kind of a bandwagoner here, but I got Bama. I think they're too good. They've won too many good games they've won a big game on the road, but I don't think there's a team that's hotter right now outside of the Oregon Ducks than the Alabama Crimson Tide. I got a good first half, competitive first half, but I think that Bama goes ahead and runs this 31-15, 31-17-ish.
I'm just going to say this. I don't know if you're going to be able to watch games on Saturday or not, Nick. If you get to watch this game, you will be surprised with how good Missouri is.
Okay.
Real quick hitter, Pitt, Florida State.
I think I got Florida State in this one. They're going to bounce back. They need a win. Their coach is telling them right now, hey, boys, we're right there. We just got to close.
What about, let's go into the next window of games. The big one on the day. Actually, the big two. I mean, it's another really good slate. So, like, I'm having trouble saying which game is going to – I'm having trouble saying which game is going to be best because, like, we still have the Red River rivalry. We still have Indiana, Oregon. So, let's just go to that. The undefeateds. Indiana, number 7. Oregon, number 3. It's in Eugene. I mean, all eyes on this game.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now – I know we will talk about the Red River rivalry.
You struggle to say that.
So yes, I do. I will leave that for when we talk about it. But when I think about college football, when I think about waking up, it being cold out and making coffee and watching game day, when I think about you in the sense of a gentleman that has a shared passion for the sport, it's not rare that these type of matchups happen because they happen every year. But this, to me, this year, knowing how badly Penn State got beat by UCLA in terms of their morale, this has one of those Georgia-Alabama effects to me this year. Because Indiana is a team that they've been, they got some great wins, right? But if you're heading out to Eugene, a place that I think their home record is like 70-3 or something, like just astronomical.
Yeah.
This is an opportunity for Kirk Cignetti to really solidify that he's here for the long term. I
Mm.
don't think that they get to win. I think it's a great game, but he hasn't quite solidified himself yet in this Big Ten conference, in this new Big Ten conference, I should say. If it was
Yep.
former, then it might be a little different, but great football game. It's going to come down to the wire. But the Ducks, man, the Ducks have been salivating at getting back to the national championship since Ohio State ripped their souls out. Dan Lanning may never see a heart rate under 170 beats this whole season.
He's awesome.
But this game for him is a statement victory at home for the Ducks. I got the Ducks all the way. But the score to this game, let me think here. The score to this game, let's go 27-21 in favor of Oregon.
I will just say I'm really glad that you took it that route, because this game for me is a college football wet dream of a coaching matchup.
Oh my God, yeah.
Curt Cignetti, Dan Lanning. I love both of them. I love the way that both of them coach football. They like their excitement level about football. The way they come across about it, like, couldn't be more different. Dan Lanning legitimately got tested for being on cocaine after the game, I'm pretty sure. Like, he legit got tested for cocaine use after that football game. Playing Penn State, all the emotions. Curt Cignetti is just like, he's calm, he's cool, he's collected, and he's cocky, man. He backs it up like that. Like, they're number 7 in the country, and deservedly so. This game is it's going to be awesome. It's on a loaded slate, and it is awesome. Other game that was supposed to be huge and that you have a tough time saying, the Red River rivalry game. Number 6 Oklahoma, still without their quarterback, John Mateer, plays Texas, and obviously struggling and at this point unranked.
Dude, I know this is a wonderful rivalry, and I haven't really watched it like in terms of knowing who's won what. This to me though, I'm going all Boomer Sooner. I am so bought in to Texas going down. And just at this point, if there is, in the movies, Cole, when they have the scenes where there's an oil spill or a fire spill, and the flame is slowly creeping through the match before it gets there.
Yeah.
This is what I see happening to Arch Manning, is that he is one match away in terms of a loss in the rivalry game, because he hasn't been prepared for any game, let alone this rivalry game for Texas. Don't tell me he's going to have the first game where he just blows it up and lights it up on fire. This is Boomer Sooner. The only thing that they have obviously against them, if their starting quarterback was playing, this wouldn't even be a game. But Oklahoma. Because of that very fact, for Oklahoma, I'm sorry, but the fact that he's out is the only breath of chance that Texas even has. So this is going to be a strong opinion for me. It's going to be a close game. All rivalries are, but I got Oklahoma 24 to Texas's 17.
Didn't talk about this team, but 2 losses aside from the fact that 2 losses are going to get them into the college football playoff. NC State versus Notre Dame. Quick hitter.
I think Notre Dame pulls it out. I really do think they have a favorable schedule to end the rest of their season, as we've talked about many times.
How about Big Ten matchup? 4-1 Nebraska versus 4-1 Maryland.
Ooh, this game has got upset written all over it.
What's the upset?
That's so true. I know, right? When I said that, I would say naturally, Maryland. But here's the thing: is this is a type of game that Dylan Raiola can actually perform well in and show us a little bit. He has yet to have the big win, but Nebraska, they have to view their season with such a sense of urgency since that was Michigan loss, that I think that they have enough. Where's that game being played, in Lincoln, or is it on the road?
No, it's in Annapolis, Maryland, I believe.
Oof, man. This one's going to be a tough one. I'm not surprised if Maryland wins, but I think Nebraska has just enough to take that. It's going to be a tight game, though. It's going to be probably a field goal maybe to win it. 27-24 Nebraska.
I'm sorry, I was wrong. College Park, Maryland.
I see.
Okay. Moving on then. Next game. Florida, Texas A&M. I mean, Florida, nice win last week. Is the momentum going to carry over? Have they kind of figured themselves out to begin playing winning football? Maybe just a little bit late in the year, or is Texas A&M at 5 in the country the real deal?
Yeah, Texas A&M goes in. They win that game pretty deservedly, and then I think that exposes how poor of a loss it was from Texas's perspective.
Okay. Your game of the week, is it going to be 7-10 Iowa or Wisconsin?
Oh shit, that's so funny, Cole. I'm gonna say Iowa wins 13-, or no. Iowa wins 21-10.
Okay. I'm going to hit you with 3 just rapid fire, okay?
Sure.
Kansas, Texas Tech.
Texas Tech.
Georgia, Auburn.
Georgia.
Michigan, USC.
I got USC in the upset here.
Really?
Yeah. I think Michigan
USC's
falls
favored in the game.
Yeah, I think Michigan falls here. They're not that good. They're not number 15.
I don't know, dude. They can run the football with anybody.
They definitely can run the rock. I'll give them that. There's no doubt about that.
Okay. Big 12 matchup, kind of cap the night off because this is kind of where it ends. 2 Big 12 matchups. BYU, Arizona.
This is a tough one for me because I think Arizona is a great team, but BYU also is a strong team. So I think the home team, whoever that is, wins this football game.
Arizona.
Okay.
I mean, Arizona's 4-1. Their only loss is Iowa State.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
I mean, BYU's 5-0. It's crazy to think that BYU is 5-0 even after losing their quarterback Jake Retzloff to the whole like premarital sex rule at BYU.
Oh my God, I didn't even know that.
Team for that, and now Jake Retzloff, the guy who would have been the quarterback at BYU, is now playing at Tulane, and that's why I like them as a small school team. Like they're 5-0, they're number 18 in the country. Like, what does that say about the program BYU has?
Dude, I had no idea that was like the news on their team, and that just cracks me up so much that a young man got lost in the sauce and had premarital sex. I've never done it, so I don't know what the fuck he's thinking, but that is crazy. But have they even played anyone? That's my question.
BYU?
Yeah.
No, kind of a cupcake schedule.
Yeah, I mean, Stanford, East Carolina, Colorado, West Virginia, no fucking chance. I think Arizona, it's close at half, but then I think Arizona ultimately pulls out late because they're more battle tested at this point.
And home field advantage. I mean, you said it.
Home field advantage.
Yeah. Last game of the night, at least that we're going to do pick on. It's a late starter to 7:15 Arizona time, 9:15 Iowa time. Arizona State is on the road in Salt Lake City against Utah.
I want so bad to say that Utah is going to be upset city here, but I just don't think they have the ammunition. My heart and soul goes out to the Utes. I want them to win this so badly just for Iowa State's sake. But I think Arizona has learned their lesson from being on the road at the SEC that you can't take these games for granted and you got to fucking go win. So I think Arizona State ultimately wins. And I think that they actually end up winning pretty big. I got them like 35 to like 17 or 35-21.
Whoa.
Kind of smacking them around a little bit.
That's this week's picks.
Any other final sentiments or notes before we wrap up this would be technically week 7 on Life with Nick. Sorry about that to the homies.
I've got 2 quick things really quick to cap us off. They're both college football related, but I wanted to save them to the end just because they are kind of just parting thoughts. One is simply a comment and an observation. I can't escape Holly Rowe. I don't know if you know who Holly Rowe is. I don't know if anybody that listens to this knows who Holly Rowe is. Holly Rowe is like, I didn't know that she was on the level at ESPN that like Stephen A. Smith is. Like, I swear I turn on anything and it's Holly Rowe. Like, I was like the WNBA finals, Holly Rowe, the biggest college football games of the year, like every week, Holly
Holly
Rowe
Rowe.
is on the sideline with Kirk Herbstreit and Chris Fowler up in the booth. Like, I can't escape Holly Rowe.
That's
She
so funny.
like I see her and like I think of my mom, and to me it's like crazy. It's like, how is Holly Rowe everywhere? A, and B, why is she on the same level as like Stephen A. Smith and Pat McAfee at ESPN?
He says why?
I just like it's totally random. It's just I'm like, I mean, I turned on the WNBA Finals game today, and I was like, Holly Rowe is like, she's literally down the street from me in Phoenix because the Mercury are playing the Las Vegas Aces like in the WNBA Finals, and like Holly Rowe's there after I just saw her in like college football like every week at the biggest game. To me, that's just crazy. The other one that I will leave you with, we need to get old people off the sidelines during games.
Yes.
I'm really like it really pains me as a person that's getting older. I'm 28 years old. I'll be 29 in December. Like, I'm really tired of seeing like 65-year-old people and older, mainly the men who, you know, they wear like the SEC logo thing and they're either like the ball boy or the chain gang guy, or like they're doing something for the officiating crew. Like, we got to get them off the sideline because they are sitting ducks for broken ankles, for concussions, for wearing the neck brace and just getting slammed into by a 22-year-old, 20-year-old running back that benches 500 pounds and squats 700 pounds to just run right through. Like, if you can't get out of the way, like if you don't have the physical capability to get out of the way or jump over two players that are colliding on the sideline, like, you're watching. It's one thing if you're a cheerleader, you have your back turned, a play goes especially off into the out of bounds area, and like a cheerleader gets ran into or an unsuspecting person gets ran into. But if you're like 65 or older, and I love my senior citizens, I love my grandparents, I love old people, and you can be on and they can be on the sideline all they want before and after the game. Can we please get them off the sideline while the game is in progress so we don't have to stop games every week because some dude in the SEC who's 70 years old and thought it'd be a good idea to work for the league gets trucked by Alabama's running back. Like, I hate to see it. It breaks my heart. It's not that I don't want them there. It just breaks my heart every week. And it's like, God, can we like let's have them on the sideline before the game. Let's have them on the sideline after the game, on the field, whatever. And heck, they can even be the ones to like stop all the students from rushing the field in games that are meaningless wins that we're trying to rush the field for. But like, just not during the game. Not during the game, please.
Let's separate Division I high caliber athletes from arguably the most fragile people in the stadium. Let's be better about that. And then also, let's just use our brain, right? What do we expect is going to happen? Let's just think a little bit. Let's just expect what's going to happen. It's like smoking on an airplane. What do you think is going to happen?
In order to get on the field, you should have to do a box jump. One box jump. And if you can do a box jump, you're allowed to stay down on the field while the game is being played. If you can't do a box jump, one box jump that's like, 20 inches high off the ground, like, you can be down here until the game starts, and then at kickoff, you got to go back up to the stands or the suites, right, the press box, the whatever, and then after the game, you can come back down.
That's too funny.
That's what I got to end this week.
The parting thoughts from my good friend Cole Szynski, and they are very, very valid points. And I love bringing a little bit of humorous in this Week 7 episode of Life on the 50. We really hope you enjoyed us, folks. All the takes, all the thoughts, all the comments are here for you to enjoy. And as always, until next time.